If you are over 60 and you have stood in a check-in line at the airport in the last 2 years, there is a very strong chance you did not have to stand there at all. I am Maria. I was a flight attendant for 22 years, and in this video, I am going to give you the exact words to say, the exact steps to take, and the exact buttons to press so that the check-in line disappears from your travel day, legally, completely, and starting with your very next trip. Drop a comment below right now with your age and the last airport you flew out of, because what you are about to learn might mean you never stand in that line again. Most seniors assume check-in is mandatory. You show up, you find the line, you wait, you hand over your documents, you answer the questions, you get your boarding pass. That is just what flying is. That assumption is exactly what airports and airlines are counting on. Because every senior who stands in that line and accepts the process as fixed is a senior who will never discover that the check-in counter was designed for a different era of travel, and that in the current era, it is almost entirely optional for passengers who know what they are doing. Here is what the airline industry does not put on a billboard. There are at least 9 separate pathways that allow a traveler to bypass the traditional check-in counter entirely. They exist through mobile technology. They exist through loyalty program privileges. They exist through kiosk processes that move 4 times faster than agent-staffed counters. They exist through dedicated senior assistance programs at major carriers that most travelers over 60 have never been told about. They exist through TSA programs specifically designed to reduce screening friction for older travelers. They exist as options available to any passenger who simply knows to ask. 9 pathways, and most senior travelers are using 0 of them. I want to tell you about a passenger named Margaret. She was 72 years old, a retired librarian from Tennessee, meticulous and well-prepared. Margaret arrived at the airport 2 hours before every domestic flight because she had learned over the years that she needed that time. 90 minutes of it, on average, went to check-in and security. She had accepted this as the cost of flying. What Margaret did not know was that her frequent flyer account, her carry-on-only travel habit, and her age qualified her for 3 separate programs that combined would have reduced her airport processing time to under 20 minutes, door to gate. She had been spending roughly 6 hours per year standing in lines she legally, technically, and logistically had every right to skip. Nobody had told her. Nobody was going to tell her. The line was working exactly as designed. Margaret's story is not unusual. It is the norm. And the reason it keeps happening to senior travelers specifically comes down to 3 things the industry understands very well. First, travelers over 60 are statistically more likely to arrive early and accept slow processes as a safety buffer. They build the line into their travel day. They plan around it. This makes them invisible to the system as candidates for faster pathways, because they never signal frustration or urgency that would prompt an agent to offer alternatives. Second, the technology solutions that bypass check-in were designed and marketed primarily toward younger, frequent business travelers. The apps, the mobile wallets, the digital boarding passes, the assumption built into their rollout was that seniors would need help and would therefore prefer the counter. That assumption has never been corrected. The programs exist for everyone. The marketing reached almost no one over 60. Third, and this is the one that took me years inside the industry to fully understand, airport efficiency metrics measure throughput, not experience. A senior who spends 90 minutes in check-in and security and boards without incident is a successful transaction in every metric the airport tracks. There is no flag, no alert, no system prompt that tells a check-in agent, "This passenger qualifies for a faster route, please offer it." That information has to come from you, and the way it comes from you is by knowing exactly what to ask for. Before I go further, hit that like button right now if you have ever spent more than an hour on check-in and security and wondered afterward whether it had to take that long. It helps us reach more senior travelers who need this information. And subscribe, because I share these insider tactics every single week. I want to give you the foundation before we get into the specific scripts, because the words matter. But understanding why these pathways exist is what gives you the confidence to use them without hesitation. Here is the core principle. The check-in counter is the default path, not the only path. Airlines built faster pathways because faster pathways reduce their costs. Every passenger who checks in on a mobile app is a passenger who does not require an agent's time. Every passenger who uses a kiosk is a passenger who processes faster and frees up staff. The airline's interest and your interest are aligned here, which is unusual in this industry. The faster option is better for them and dramatically better for you. The only reason you are not already using it is that no one has walked you through it step by step and given you the exact words to say when a step does not work automatically. The 4 words that change your airport experience are, what are my options? Not, can I skip the line, which sounds like you are asking for special treatment. Not, this line is too long, which is a complaint with no direction. Not, I am a senior, can you help me? Which surrenders your agency before you have even stated a need. Just, what are my options? It is open. It is calm. It signals awareness without demand. And it opens a door that check-in agents are trained to walk through when a passenger asks. Because the faster they can route you, the faster their line moves, and the better their metrics look. Now, I am going to give you the exact word-for-word phrases to use in 7 specific situations. Each one is designed for a real scenario you will encounter. Say these words. The phrasing is tested, and it works. Use this when you have a smartphone and a reservation confirmation email, even if you have never used a mobile boarding pass before. I would like to check in on my phone before I come to the airport. Can you walk me through what I need to do right now so I arrive with my boarding pass already on my screen? Say this on the phone when you call the airline 24 hours before your flight, which every major carrier allows and most encourage. Here is why this works. Mobile check-in opens exactly 24 hours before departure on most U.S. carriers. When you call the airline the day before and ask an agent to walk you through the process live, you get a human being confirming your seat, verifying your documents are in order, and guiding you through the app step by step. You arrive at the airport with a boarding pass already on your phone. No counter, no kiosk, no line. You walk directly to baggage drop if you have a checked bag, or directly to security if you are carry-on only. A 71-year-old retired nurse named Barbara from North Carolina had never used a mobile boarding pass in her life. She was convinced it was complicated and that something would go wrong. When she called the airline the day before her flight and said almost exactly these words, the agent spent 8 minutes with her, walked her through downloading the app, checking in, and saving the boarding pass to her phone's wallet. Barbara arrived at the airport the next morning, walked past the check-in line of 40 people, went directly through security, and was at her gate in 19 minutes from the moment she entered the terminal. She called her daughter from the gate in disbelief. She has used a mobile boarding pass on every flight since. Use this when you are at the airport without a mobile boarding pass and the check-in line is long. Before I join the standard check-in line, I want to confirm. Is there a kiosk or an alternative check-in option available that would be faster for my reservation type? Here is what most senior travelers do not know about airport kiosks. The kiosks at every major U.S. carrier are not just a self-service version of the check-in counter. They are a fully functional check-in system that in most cases processes a reservation in under 3 minutes. You enter your confirmation number or scan your passport. The kiosk pulls your reservation, confirms your seat, prints your boarding pass, and in many airports, prints your bag tags, so you can go directly to a bag drop lane, which moves significantly faster than full-service check-in. The key phrase is "for my reservation type." This signals that you understand different passengers may have different options, which is accurate, and it prompts the agent you are speaking with to look at your specific booking before defaulting you to the back of the line. A 68-year-old retired accountant named Raymond from Ohio arrived at a major hub airport on a Monday morning and saw a check-in line of approximately 60 people. He had always joined the line because he had always joined the line. This time he asked this question to the nearest airline employee. The employee pointed him to a kiosk station 10 feet away, confirmed his reservation type qualified, and Raymond had his boarding pass in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The line he had avoided still had 53 people in it when he reached the security checkpoint. Use this when you travel with any mobility aid, require extra time boarding, or have any physical condition that makes long walks or standing in lines difficult. Say this: I would like to request passenger assistance services for my travel today. Can you tell me exactly what that includes in terms of check-in, security, and gate access, and how I request it right now? Here is something every senior traveler should know. The Air Carrier Access Act requires airlines and airports to provide assistance services to any passenger who requests them. These services are not limited to passengers with visible disabilities. They are available to any passenger who self-identifies as needing assistance. And they routinely include priority check-in processing, escort through a dedicated security lane, wheelchair or cart transport to the gate, and priority boarding. You do not need a doctor's note. You do not need a formal disability designation. You request, they provide. The critical phrase is right now. You are not filing a future request. You are initiating the service in this moment. That specificity moves the interaction from a question into a process. A 75-year-old retired teacher named Evelyn from Georgia had chronic knee pain that made long walks through airports genuinely difficult. She had never asked for assistance because she did not want to seem like a burden and was not sure she qualified. When she used this script, the agent immediately flagged her reservation, escorted her to a priority check-in position, arranged wheelchair assistance through security with a dedicated TSA lane, and had her at the gate 40 minutes before her boarding group was called. Evelyn described it as the first flight in 5 years where she arrived at the gate without pain. The service had been available to her the entire time. Use this when you are a member of TSA PreCheck, Global Entry, or Clear, or you are not sure whether you are enrolled. Can you check my reservation to confirm whether my TSA PreCheck or Trusted Traveler number is attached to this booking? I want to make sure it will show on my boarding pass before I go to security. Here's the problem that costs thousands of senior travelers their PreCheck benefit every single trip. TSA PreCheck must be attached to each individual booking using your known traveler number. If you booked through a third-party site, if someone else booked for you, or if you have multiple loyalty accounts and the number is saved to a different profile, your boarding pass will not show the PreCheck indicator, and you will go through standard security screening, even though you paid for and are enrolled in a program specifically designed to move you through faster. Asking this question at check-in or on the phone the day before takes less than 60 seconds. If the number is missing, the agent adds it. Your boarding pass prints with the PreCheck indicator. You go through the dedicated PreCheck lane with no laptop removal, no shoe removal, no belt removal, and a line that in most airports is a fraction of the length of standard screening. A 70-year-old retired engineer named Walter from Michigan had enrolled in TSA PreCheck 3 years earlier and used it exactly twice, both times on the first trip after he enrolled. On every subsequent trip, he had been routed through standard screening without knowing why and without knowing to ask. When a younger colleague explained the known traveler number issue, Walter asked this question at his next check-in. The agent found that his number was missing from the booking, added it in 30 seconds, and Walter used PreCheck for the first time in 2.5 years. He calculated that over the previous 31 trips, he had spent an estimated 11 additional hours in security that he had been entirely entitled to skip. Use this when you have elite or mid-tier frequent flyer status with the airline, even if you have not flown recently and think your status may be expired or low. Before you finalize my check-in, Can you pull up my frequent flyer account and confirm what priority check-in and airport access benefits are currently active on my status? Elite status at every major U.S. carrier comes with airport benefits that go significantly beyond free bags. Priority check-in lanes, access to dedicated agent counters with no standard queue, complimentary same-day seat upgrades at the counter, priority security lane access at participating airports. Most passengers with mid-tier status have never been told these benefits exist in any useful detail. They check in at the standard counter because that is what they have always done. When you ask an agent to pull up your account and read you your current active benefits, two things happen. First, the agent must look carefully at your actual account, rather than processing you as a standard transaction. Second, you frequently discover benefits you have had for years and never used, because the loyalty program emails that describe them are long, formatted like legal documents, and written for people who already know what to look for. A 73-year-old retired pharmacist named Carolyn from Arizona had accumulated mid-tier status on her primary airline through years of twice-annual trips to visit her grandchildren. She had no idea her status included access to a dedicated priority check-in counter with a maximum wait time of under 5 minutes, guaranteed. She had been standing in the standard line for 4 years. When she asked this question, the agent looked up her account, confirmed her priority counter access, and directed her to a counter with no line, where a dedicated agent processed her in under 2 minutes. Carolyn asked why no one had ever told her. The agent had no answer for her. The benefit had been there the entire time. Use this when none of the above categories apply, and you are facing a standard check-in line with no obvious alternative. I want to be straightforward with you. I am a senior traveler, and this line is genuinely difficult for me today. I am not looking for anything special. I just want to know if there is a faster pathway that I might have missed. Is there anything you can point me toward? I know some people feel uncomfortable with this one. It feels like asking for special treatment or admitting limitation. I want to reframe that completely. This is not weakness. This is honest communication with a professional who has the power to help you, and who, in most cases, is actively looking for a reason to do so. Airport and airline staff are evaluated on passenger satisfaction. A senior traveler who is struggling visibly and asks politely for direction is exactly the interaction that staff are trained and in many cases genuinely motivated to resolve well. In my 22 years, I never once saw a check-in agent dismiss a senior traveler who asked this way. I watched agents walk passengers to kiosks, personally escort them to priority counters, call ahead to security to arrange dedicated lane access, and in several cases, stay with a passenger through the entire check-in process because the traveler had simply asked for help in honest, human terms. A 79-year-old retired postal worker named Henry from Virginia stood at the back of a long check-in line on a busy Friday morning, visibly tired, carrying a bag that was clearly heavier than comfortable. He asked these words to a passing airline employee. The employee stopped, assessed the situation, walked Henry to a kiosk, processed his check-in personally, arranged wheelchair assistance to the gate, and made sure his bag was tagged for priority handling. Henry made his flight with 30 minutes to spare. The interaction had taken less than 4 minutes from the moment he spoke. Let me be completely honest with you. These pathways work the vast majority of the time when you use them correctly. They do not work every time. Technology fails. Staff have bad days. Programs have genuine eligibility requirements that not every traveler meets. Here is what to do when the answer is still no. Step 1 is to ask a second person immediately. Not aggressively, not loudly. Walk 10 feet from the counter, find a different airline employee, a supervisor, a gate agent, a customer service ambassador, and ask the same question with a calm, brief explanation. In my experience, over half of the cases where a frontline agent cannot help, a second employee either can or can find someone who can. The first no is almost never the final answer. Step 2, if you are traveling with any regularity, is to call the airline's customer service line the day after a difficult airport experience and describe what happened. Not to complain, to ask, is there a program or service that would have helped me in that situation that I should know about for next time? That question almost always produces a genuinely useful answer, and frequently results in a proactive enrollment in a program you were previously unaware of. A 67-year-old retired social worker named Patricia from Florida had been told at the check-in counter that no alternative processing was available for her. She called the airline's customer relations line the next morning and described her experience. The agent she spoke with enrolled her in the airline's dedicated senior assistance program, which she had never been told existed, added her pre-check number to her loyalty profile so it would attach automatically to every future booking, and noted a goodwill credit on her account. That 4-minute phone call changed every airport experience Patricia has had since.